All right, hello and welcome to the show. This is the Friday episode of Stand Up, which is Stand Up Light, no news, because I've got to avoid it on Fridays. I take it in all week. I take it in a little over the weekend, back strong on Monday, but on Fridays, it's just the conversations. Of course, talk a little bit about the news, but I've got two great conversations on this Friday for you, and I'm very excited for you to hear them. Of course, Christian Finnegan joins me, as always, for a great talk. And I'm very excited to have Michelangelo Signorile back on the program. He is a civil rights leader, a former AIDS activist, and the host, of course, of SiriusXM's The Michelangelo Signorile Show. You can hear it on SiriusXM, channel 127, the Progress Channel, 3 to 6 Eastern. Mike and I worked together for years, thick as thieves, and solidarity on all things, and I adore and respect him a great deal. It's great to catch up with him because he announced on his radio show, social media, and his Substack newsletter that about 2 weeks ago that he had been diagnosed with prostate cancer. And so Mike came on and talked about his diagnosis and talked about men's health and politics and more. We had an awesome conversation, and that is what I've got coming up for you right now. First, so Christian Finnegan, Michelangelo Signorile, and thank you to everybody who joined us last night at the Hangout, where over 40 subscribers of the show joined us, and it was awesome. We had a great time last night, and it was great to meet Carrie Williams' dad, Carvel, who is a 78-year-old African-American Vietnam veteran, electric engineer, retired, and he was really fascinating to meet and hear. He held court for like an hour last night, and that is just one of the many benefits of being a part of this community with you guys, is getting to meet and talk to new people all the time. And welcome to all the new subscribers this week, by the way. Brian Gifford, Gary Goldfarb, Keith Dangle, and Ed Wall all joined for $5 a month. Actually, somehow there's a $7 tier. I didn't know that, but Ed Wall signed up for that. And Mike Cunningham, welcome to you for a $10 subscription. Thank you, Brian, Gary, Keith, Mike, and Ed. Welcome to our community. Hope to see you at those hangouts, and very excited to have all of the new subscribers joining our community. All right, well, I won't talk anymore because I've got these two great conversations for you. No news. It is the Friday show, and so I'm really excited to share them with you. As always, thank you very much for supporting the show, and if you aren't, sign up now. Go to standupwithpete.com or patreon.com/Pete Dominic. Sign up for a paid subscription right now so we can meet the goal this week of 10 new subscribers. I think we got 7, but 3 more. Who's been holding out? Sign up now. Just $5 a month or more. You can always edit your subscription upwards as well. Okay, that's it. Done talking. Sorry, I said that already. Here we go. Michelangelo Signorile on Signorile, rather, on Twitter. And an amazing conversation. Very happy to have him back. Let's do it. All right, I've got him now, Michelangelo Signorile, on the phone with me, and very excited to have my old friend and colleague back on the podcast. And thank you for joining me.
Great to be back with you, Pete. Thanks.
So you put out a newsletter, a whole newsletter at your Substack, which is great, and everybody should sign up for, about your prostate cancer diagnosis and the kind of thing that you're not expecting to hear when you find it out. And, you know, of course, I immediately texted you, see you're okay, but I hadn't even read the thing past the first paragraph. I have now read it all, and I just want to say everybody should read it. I'll share it and post it because it's super important for men to read your experience. I learned a lot from it. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I mean, I feel great. I feel good that I talked about it and helped to try to educate a lot of people. I wrote the newsletter post like at the same time as I told my audience on my show on SiriusXM in that third hour of the show. I told them I was going to tell them something important and that we needed to talk about it. And then I posted, you know, I hit Facebook, I hit Twitter. I did everything all at once because I didn't want people hearing it in one place and not really understanding, because when they hear cancer, they get obviously very concerned, and they should. But I was very fortunate to detect this early and to be able to take advantage of early detection of prostate cancer, which is a very slow growing cancer. But like all cancer, if you don't detect it early, it could be deadly. And I really wanted to raise awareness for people to make sure to get a PSA test if they have a prostate. And a lot of people just don't know about this, or their doctors don't do it regularly. And so it was a good way to educate people. And I'm lucky my doctor had tested me, and I feel good about treatment options moving forward. And I feel like I'm in a good place, and that it is curable, and that's a great thing.
I'm so happy that you're doing okay, and that the prognosis is so positive, and that you shared it the way you shared it and kind of managed that message across social media and your radio show. I actually had to do something similar when I got a headache recently, but I just wanted attention. No one seemed to care. I got one like, one retweet, and 7 people quoted me saying I'm a wuss. It's so important that you shared it, and that you talked about all the differences in terms of, how different men are diagnosed, if they're diagnosed, when they're diagnosed. You mentioned this well-known actor whose name is escaping me. Oof, that's so bad. From Friends, who just passed away.
Michael James Tyler, who played Gunther.
And so he died of prostate cancer. And you include the fact that his own wife, was encouraging him to get tested earlier. And he even said, apparently, before he passed away, I should have listened to my wife, right?
Yeah, I mean, he had obviously, and I don't know for sure, but a much more aggressive form of prostate cancer. There are some, I think 3% that is very fast growing, but he died at the age of 59. He had not gotten a PSA test until 2018. So he didn't get a PSA test until he was 56. By that point, this cancer had left his prostate and had gone to his bones. Once it does that, you're in a very bad place. If you get tested early and it's in the prostate, no matter how fast it's growing, they can deal with it there. They can treat it there. And that means getting tested early. And there's a lot of confusion about PSA testing. And just so people know, this is a simple blood test that your doctor does when you get your routine blood work. And it measures prostate specific antigen, how much of that is going into your blood. And if it's elevated, it could mean a number of things. It could be that you have a urinary tract infection. So it could be anything, but it also could be cancer. And there's a lot of confusion. There's different recommendations from the Prostate Cancer Foundation and the American Cancer Society and the U.S. Preventative Task Force. They have different ages. The Prostate Cancer Foundation says 40 years old and older if you're Black, and 45 if, for everybody else, or if it's in your family, 40 years old. But like the U.S. Preventative Task Force says, talk to your doctor. Don't even necessarily get it. Talk to your doctor at age 55, no matter what. That's such a disparity.
Right.
A lot of it has had to do with fears about overdiagnosis or overtreatment. But bottom line is, it's just a blood test. It can hurt you, and it can save your life.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I guess, the Men's Health Month, November, right? You got the Movember campaign. I worked with that organization one year, and there's a lot of really important data out there about men and how we deal with our physical and obviously emotional health, which we can talk about. But the idea of getting tests done, there's some kind of a male quality that sometimes, makes us not want to go to the doctor, and we'll be okay. And we don't want to, we're in denial and so on. I guess there's a gender quality about taking care of your health that sometimes makes men, whether it's ignorance or pride or fear, whatever it is, it prevents us from getting the kind of checkups, the physicals, et cetera, that we need, the kind of preventative care that can catch something like your situation, right? Like that's a thing, right?
And I also think too many men, too many people, but probably women are better about this. They just trust the doctor, and doctors have all different opinions on all of these things. Some doctors don't believe the PSA test is necessary. The other thing men should be getting, and I know some men don't like this, but it's less than 10 seconds, is a digital rectal exam, because that's another way that it's detected. And sometimes the PSA test doesn't pick it up if they feel a lump in the prostate. And some doctors don't like to do that. So you have to take it into your own control. You have to be proactive and do it. And, I just want to talk a moment about treatment, because I think this is what makes people fearful. If people think a treatment for something is so terrible, then they don't even want to test.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I've done that. I've not wanted to get some.
I just want to talk about this because what I learned now and the advances that have happened, it's just extraordinary. I mean, if you detect this again early, like I have, first of all, the first thing they might do if it's really slow growing is just active surveillance. If you don't want any treatment, just basically watching it and giving you more tests and watching it, and you may die of something else 20 years later. I mean, there are people who have slow growing tumor in their prostate for 20 years. But even if you need treatment, it's unbelievable what they have now. Like that, you can be cured in some cases, and every case is different, but you can be cured by going in for 5 high intensity, high dose radiation that they can now give because it's laser focused, so it doesn't hurt the other organs. They could do 5 treatments, 3 minutes a day, and you're done. Like, that's it. Think about that. 5 days, 3 minutes. Years ago, you'd have to go for 6 weeks of radiation, and it had to be low dose because it would affect other organs, and it would still affect them anyway. And you'd hear of people losing their hair and losing this and losing that. This is very minimal side effects. There's still some, but very minimal and very easy and fast. So when people think about that, it's manageable, right? And then that makes people think, okay, I should get tested.
I wonder if some people just have a bad memories about their own dads or parents and the horrible treatments that they went through, and just are ignorant to the new medical technologies and treatments available. And so they don't get checked for that reason. Like, I don't want to have to go through that.
Yeah.
Legacy concerns.
And I don't think we have enough discussion of it or coverage. That's why it's great that you're doing this.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was so happy
about it, right? Because we have an opportunity to tell people.
Yeah, for sure, saving lives. I mean, your Substack saved lives. There can be no doubt that somebody, including myself, is going to be asking questions and getting checked out. One more question on this, though, is there is this issue with like prostate health and colon health and anything rectal, with men not wanting to get the exams because of what would you call it? I don't know, security issues or something. Like
homophobia.
Well, homophobia,
maybe just a fear of another man.
Sure. Is that it? Is it that simple? Like the idea, I don't want to get a camera in my ass because I don't know. That could be part of it. Look, I think all of us, no matter gay, straight, men, women, we don't like anybody probing us, right? in these areas, speak for yourself, sir. I'm actually doing a new show from my ass.
I was going to say we don't like a stranger probing us, but yeah, there are some people who might like that. No, but the thing is, it's the doctor. You have to trust your doctor. So I think the most important thing, be above everything, is to trust your doctor. Yeah. A lot of people don't. Yeah. A lot of people don't like I've told so many people who don't like their doctor, get a new doctor if you don't like your doctor. Trust your doctor. If you trust your doctor, then you trust that your doctor is doing something to help you, no matter how uncomfortable it is, and is going to get it done quickly, and it's going to save your life.
All great advice. Absolutely. All right, so I wanted to ask you 2 other questions if we have time about separate issues, which I'm sure you've been talking about on your program, which everybody, of course, can hear on Sirius XM. Progress 3 to 6, right?
3 to 6 p.m., channel 127.
Eastern. So, first of all, who is Dennis Prager, and why is he comparing anti-vaxxers to people who had AIDS?
Dennis Prager is a far-right pundit and radio host who has been odious for many years. I actually debated him once on his show. I can't even remember what happened, but it was all fireworks and crazy. And he twists facts around, he distorts things, and he's become a total Trumper. He considers himself an intellectual, though. He doesn't consider himself more like Alex Jones or something like that. So, he really he's almost more dangerous in that sense. But he made this comment that anti-vaxxers or people who don't get vaccinated are being treated like pariahs in a way that people with AIDS weren't treated, or we would never have done this with people with AIDS. That is the most ignorant and disgusting distortion of truth that I've heard in a while, because people with AIDS were thrown out of hospitals. They were thrown into the street. They were left to die because people wouldn't go into their homes and take care of them. People wouldn't clean their homes. They were named as basically people who should be ostracized and quarantined by government officials. We had several members of Congress at the time in the 80s calling for quarantine. We had William F. Buckley Jr., a right-wing pundit who was considered himself a patrician intellectual. He called for tattooing people with AIDS. Jesus. I think all of that qualifies as pariah status, wouldn't you think?
I don't know what the definition of pariah is, but I bet you tattoo is in there. Jesus. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know what game he's playing, what he believes or not. I just think it's super important you were an activist at that time. You still are an AIDS, awareness activist. And, when you live through that and you're literally in the fight, it's got to be, I don't know what the word is, maddening to hear someone say, rewrite history about what your and millions of others' actual real experience was. And to compare, I think it was somebody tweeted about the AIDS rights, movement was like trying to get medical treatment, trying to get research, trying to get doctors to pay attention to care. This anti-vax movement is opposed to the solution. The comparison is got to be offensive to you.
It's insane. People with AIDS were people with an illness. And by the way, an illness that could not in any way be transmitted even remotely as easily as COVID-19, right, through the air, or this was a illness, a virus that did not transmit that way. And these are people without any illness. These are people who are actually helping to keep a virus spreading in the population. And they may get COVID, and then they may be part of keeping that pandemic going and hurting other people. So they're not being discriminated against because they have COVID. They're being discriminated against because they won't prevent themselves from getting COVID and spreading it to other people.
I think that, the comparison is just too, I had to ask you about that because I was just so angered by that ignorance and that this. I mean, even I wasn't paying that close attention. I mean, Ryan White. I mean, they didn't want to let him go to school. Magic Johnson. They didn't want to let him play basketball. I mean, those are the high profile. Those are the ones that we know of, and I think that's an important point to make. I mean, it was happening all over.
Oh, yeah. There were people who were dentists who were suddenly ostracized because they were gay. There were people who did not have HIV or AIDS who were ostracized because they were just thought to be people who might have it. Gay people in general. Haitians were discriminated against. Nobody wanted to have anybody Haitian near them because they could have HIV because, of course, there was an outbreak there. I mean, it was terrible discrimination.
I want to ask you before I have to let you go, what you think of the congressional negotiations and what you think the outlook is and where you kind of stand, what you've been saying and who you've been talking to, because it's, there's plenty to talk about in terms of this infrastructure bill finally getting passed. Of course, if you want to dunk on Trump and Trumpers, it's fun to do because it took Trump 4 years. He never got anything done. And Joe Biden got it done in a year. But more importantly, what about the negotiations in terms of what progressives had been holding out for, a guarantee on a vote on the separate bill? And where do you think that leaves us? How do you feel about the way this ended up? And what do you think about the way forward? What are you hearing?
Well, I think we're still in a tenuous, risky situation. It's always risky when you're taking the word of Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema on anything after everything that's happened. I think and really trust that Pramila Jayapal the leader of the Progressive Caucus, got the best and firmest commitment she could get from certainly those in the House who were obstructing that bill, but also from the White House that they were going to deliver. And I think they had a choice to make. Do we allow for this win to happen with the infrastructure bill, or just, wait until these negotiations are completed and the CBO score comes and it just drags on more days? And I think they feel they got something that was concrete enough. Again, I worry about that because especially in the Senate, with Manchin and Sinema, you just can't trust it. Now, that said, some people said, well, they should have done this 2 or 3 weeks ago. 2 or 3 weeks ago, the Build Back Better bill that they might have gotten wouldn't have been where it is now. They actually got Sinema to agree to a prescription drug plan and negotiating with Medicare. And if that does happen, then everybody will say, wow, it's good that they held out for that, not have settled from a few weeks ago for the infrastructure bill and waiting for Build Back Better.
Oh, well done. Well said. I think from what I've heard and read, I think that sounds pretty right on in terms of, we want this to happen. We want it to happen now, but there's got to be a lot of strategizing and kind of game playing, and more important, pressure being put on and leverage being won and lost. And unfortunately, it's mostly focused on these two people in the Senate. But what do you say, or what do you call on your show, or in general, how do you refer to the kind of moderate, or some people call them, Sam Cedar calls them the corporate Democrats, like the handful of Democrats who
it's so funny. I'm laughing because I've had so many names for them. We have called them the corporatocrats. We've just taken the two words and put them together. I initially had called them extremists. They're the extremists because, especially in the beginning, they were the ones who were willing to throw away the entire agenda. How could that be considered moderate? How could it be considered moderate? When we went back to the very beginning, they were saying, we're not voting on this. We're not doing this unless we get this infrastructure bill passed. They were the ones who were, they were taking hostages. They were extremists. So I think that is what one word I've called them, but mostly I've been using the word obstructionists, or I will sometimes say the so-called moderates. That's not moderate. And you know what? In the Democratic Party, everybody who was in favor of making sure the Build Back Better bill got passed, and were standing up against these 10 Democrats. Yes, a bulk of them were progressives, but a lot of them were people who consider themselves centrist or moderate. So I just feel like the larger group contained the moderates, the real moderates and centrists, as well as progressives.
Right. These
people are just obstructionists who have their own agendas.
I wonder, their own agendas. I wonder if it's as simple as there are Democrats who have enough constituents in their districts who are high dollar donors who might be pinged on their taxes because they make so much money. And that's it. Game, set, match. I sometimes wonder, I haven't looked these ones up and see where they get their money from. But it does, like, what are they opposed to on this? I mean, I just don't know how it hurts them. It must hurt them politically somehow.
Yeah, I mean, I think with each of them, and we're talking about such a small group of 10, it's unique, and
okay.
It's really about one thing. Like Josh Gottheimer, he's in a New Jersey district that, kind of it straddles both parties. It has a lot of independents. He might be able to rely, if he's got corporate donors who want this, he might be able to rely on enough Republican votes or independent votes if he loses some Democrats. You have Jared Golden up in Maine, who has a big rural Trumpist area of his district. I mean, I think with each of them, it's something different in the way that they're seeing this. Right. They can easily go with the party and do the right thing, but if something else like corporate interests and corporate donors are influencing them, they can cobble together, if they lose some of those Democrats, they can cobble together some other group to back them. They think.
Yeah, I want to read into more of that on each one of them and try to understand that. I appreciate that nuanced response. Okay, last question. Give me a guest to steal. Any new books, authors, anybody you like? Who have you been interviewing on the show that I can steal? Any recommendations for a guest, sir?
That you can steal from us?
Well, I don't want, I mean, I'm not gonna. Nobody owns.
Have you had Zachary Patrizzo on the show?
No. Who is that?
Zachary Patrizzo is just, oh God, if you steal him from me forever, I will.
Well,
really
how can I listen to you?
He is
listen to you. You're a big corporate
star.
I'm just a guy in a shed.
Zachary Patrizzo is a rising star who I think is going to be doing amazing things. He has been working for some very small publications like Daily Dot, Young Guy, while he was in college, covering the far right, just covering a lot of these extreme events. And I met him at CPAC when I was covering it. And then he moved on to Salon.com. And I've been having him on the show through this whole time. He moved on. He's been doing great work at Salon.com. Now he's moving this week to Daily Beast. So he's really making a mark for himself. And he goes to all these events. He goes to Mike Lindell, the Pillow Guy's events.
Right.
He's on text with Mike Lindell, the Pillow Guy.
Oh, wow.
He talks to them all. He gets inside their heads. He finds out what they're doing. He exposes them. And he's just a bright young guy. And we need to keep a handle on what these crazies are doing.
Yeah, no, that's a great suggestion. And the reporters who are covering them are doing public service. It's hard. And I actually just texted him, and he signed an exclusive deal with my podcast to only join me. So that happened quick. Mike, it's great to talk to you. I'm so glad that you're doing okay and you're creating awareness around prostate cancer. And I greatly value our friendship, as you know, and I always love talking to you. Thank you very much for all your time today, buddy.
Always great to speak with you, and great work that you're doing, Pete.
All right. Okay, there he goes. Michelangelo Signorile. Listen to him on SiriusXM. Subscribe to his Substack. The links are in the show notes for today's program. And follow him on Twitter and let him know that you enjoyed him stopping by and taking my call. Always great. Love talking to him. And as always, love talking to Christian Finnegan on Fridays. You can see Christian in Boca Raton, Florida on Black Friday after Thanksgiving. If you're down there in Florida, a lot of listeners down there, definitely check Christian out. He joins me almost every Friday for a conversation about life and wrapping up the week. He's a great cultural commentator and a hilarious stand-up comedian whose new special is just out just 4 weeks ago. It's called Show Your Work on Twitter at Christ Finnegan. Go order it now, pay for it, and support Christian for joining me here. Let's get to that conversation right now. Oh, both wearing ball caps.
Look at us, huh? Like the red-blooded American men that we are.
Couple guys wearing ball caps, getting ready to chit-chat about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How are you?
Feeling masculine. How are you?
Super ripped.
Yeah.
Yep.
How you feeling? Ripped? Are you going to Florida?
Black Friday.
Oh.
That Dave Siegel thing, you mean?
Somebody just emailed me and said, I felt like they said this weekend that you were going to be performing there, which I knew. I didn't realize. And then they said, but I can't afford tickets. I really want to see Christian, but I can't afford tickets. I was like, damn, how much is he charging?
Yeah, well, the thing I'm doing the day after Thanksgiving, I think it's like $30 a ticket, I think. I'm not sure, honestly. It's all a blur. I don't know. It's not my gig. I'm just getting paid for it. So I didn't set any of that crap. But I don't know what he's talking about this weekend. If I'm performing in Florida this weekend, it's news to me.
Here it is. Christian Finnegan's going to be in South Florida this weekend, but I'm too broke to see him.
No, I think he's mistaken.
I was like, he's not going to be there. All right, we're going to do a GoFundMe for this lady to get her $35.
Okay.
All right. I'm ready. You ready?
Willing. Able.
You feeling it?
Feeling something.
Okay. Well. Yeah. 40. 25 minutes out of Christian Finnegan. I'm going to try to get it. I'm going to try to get after it. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. We're both wearing ball caps, and I don't know what that says about us. We're inside. We're wearing hats, although yours is a Knicks hat, and I think you might be getting ready to watch a basketball game.
No, the Knicks are not playing tonight. They lost last night. I don't know what it says about you, but if I'm wearing a hat, especially if it's a fancy hat, it's a pretty clear sign that I have not showered that day.
Oh, right. Yeah. Mine is because you have hair and it keeps you. Yeah, I wear them for warmth, really, and to protect from the sun.
That little egg ear is warm.
Yeah, it gets cold. It gets cold, especially when it's freshly shaven. It really is very sensitive to the temperature. Yeah.
How often do you shave it? I know I've asked you this before, but how often do you shave it?
Every 4 or 5 days.
Wow.
Yeah, I get after it. Right now, it's a little long.
Okay, people weren't on this. I think that's the third time you've used the phrase "get after it." So far today.
Is it?
Just before we signed on, you said it at least once. I think you may have said it twice. Oh. So you have "get after it" on your brain.
Really sorry to you and to everybody listening. I don't know what got into me.
Personal trainer part of you that's probably the worst part of your personality.
It was such
to someone like me. I mean, to someone like me,
it was a huge part of I rarely ever talk about it, but that was 7 years of my life.
Yeah. I admire it. It's just that there's something in me that sort of, I've been to personal trainers and whatever it is that makes a personal trainer just psyched for everything.
Yeah.
Just totally jazzed for, now I'm going to breathe. I'm going to breathe in air right now. It's so great. Whatever that quality is, I respond negatively to. It's like putting your tongue on like a 9-volt battery on your tongue. I just immediately am like, no, ooh.
Very contrived, but it's not dissimilar to the kind of energy that we might have to get up before we go on stage and aren't really feeling it, before we start recording a podcast and aren't really feeling it. You kind of got to, but it's certainly very overt. Putting my backpack on with all my straps.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, I wish I had more of it in my life. I wish I had that quality, but there's something about it that just makes me say, no, thank you.
How important is walking your dog to your own personal daily exercise? Because it's really kind of transformed my life since I hurt my foot.
Well, I mean, to my daily exercise, I mean, I would like to make it more of a daily exercise thing. I mean, I walk the dogs all the time, and so I more just think of it as a chore. Although, we took our dogs on a hike today, which was nice, that sort of works well for everybody. I'm up in the woods right now, and so we went out and took a little. It's a park we've been to 100, 300 times, but that's always nice. I mean, my whole life revolves around when dogs need to be walked.
Right.
It's always on my brain. How many hours till I need to walk them again? So when Cambry's out of town with the dogs, I have this sense of freedom that is both elating and terrifying.
Yeah, because you don't have any help, and also
I could just do anything right now.
Yeah.
Therefore, I will do nothing.
Well, I just discovered walking my dog in the woods off a leash. Never did it, and it is wonderful. She stays on by my side the entire time. But my friend,
really?
Yeah, my friend introduced me to this, and he takes his dog, and I just went for my second week in the woods. I've never done it, Christian. I've never had a dog, and I never took this dog in the woods like that. And it's just I want to keep going.
It's the greatest. It's a balm for your soul. It really is.
Yes, well said.
Yeah, I mean, in one of my dogs, it's the thing that makes him most happy in the entire world. And I let him off leash, and he loves running ahead. Mostly so that when I tell him to stop, because I need to make sure I can see him, that he loves tearing ass back at me, and just the look of just sheer excitement and joy on his face is the best thing in the world. Yeah,
that's I think a lot of dogs are like. My dog is not a leader, is not courageous. She stays right next to me the whole time, does not go ahead.
Well, that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. It's less stress.
It is a balm for your soul, though. Well said, because it's I am so excited for next Wednesday. We're doing this every Wednesday now, apparently. And I don't know, maybe
I love the dog has scheduled it for you. Apparently, we're doing this every Wednesday.
My friend Ken Zatz is he's a pediatrician. He's our daughter's pediatrician, and he's so much fun to be in the woods with. He's a really funny guy and great guy.
So you guys go together with your dog?
Yeah,
his dog as well, or
he brings it. He's in charge. Like he does this. He's been doing this for years, and I'm just kind of like his apprentice, and I just do what I'm told and go where I'm asked, and it's I love it. It's just very fun. I'm looking, and a lot of people listen to the podcast with their dog on a walk too. So I'm trying to be more like people that actually listen.
Yeah, honestly, that might be my favorite way to listen to podcasts. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like obviously driving, but yeah, being out on like a long walk where you're not completely in, you know what I mean? Where you can enjoy it, but you're not just sitting in a chair listening to a podcast. That I haven't really been able to pull off.
Yeah,
like at home, it feels not active enough. I end up being on my phone, and then I'm not even listening to the podcast I'm listening to.
Yeah, the only way I'm listening to a podcast in a chair is if it's behind a steering wheel.
Yeah.
Can't just sit there at home
even if it's like a Playmobil steering wheel that you're just holding in front of you,
which
you
is
need
exactly
to sort of do the driving motions.
Exactly what I have. All right, there's a bunch of things I wanted to get your kind of take on this week that are happening in the world, but
sure.
Just want to ask you, you're 4 weeks out from Show Your Work, your new comedy special. Just want to mention that if anybody has not seen it.
4 weeks. Yes, it came out 4 weeks ago. It came out the 19th. Whatever. Yeah, that's probably just about 4 weeks. Yes.
And you're still going on promoting it, talking about it, you going on some new shows and stuff, having fun. Yes.
Trying my best. Yes. The short answer is yes. Yeah. I don't really know. I'm just starting to get to that point where, I may have mentioned this last week, so I don't mean to be redundant, but like, where the postpartum feelings start to sink in ever so slightly. But that just means I need to find a new mountain, climb every mountain, like they say in Sound of Music.
Do you have one in mind?
No, not even one. I have no idea. It's like that's my goal for this year is to find a goal. That's between now and Christmas, my goal is to find a reason to exist in 2022.
Well, one of the things I hope that you'll continue to feel at least somewhat purposeful is joining me here, and more importantly, new. Me and you and Ophir are talking about doing some dates, and that would be so much fun to do a couple of dates with you and her, some stand up in some different places. We've talked about that.
It would be so fun, and I hope it happens, and we're going to try to make it happen. Yeah. It's going to require one of us to sort of be the captain of the ship. I think in terms of actually trying to get booked places.
Yeah,
and I would do that by default. But I would say any tour that is depending on me as a booker is probably fated for non-success.
Yeah,
that's what I would say. So
I'm not sure that I'll be of a tremendous amount of help either, which is why I'm pretty sure it doesn't happen. But but Ophira seems to be like someone that if she agrees to a task, she's going to complete it. That's what
no, yeah. No, I want to make it happen, and I think it would be a lot of fun. I just don't even know. We'll discuss. We'll discuss off mic.
We'll find out where do you want us. Where do you want us to go, folks?
Yeah.
Let us know. I bring it up for that reason. Well,
yes.
How much time have you thought about the Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers this week? Have you spent time? Have you watched takes? Have you had any takes? Do you think it's important?
I mean, I guess he's a dipshit. And I was saying to somebody yesterday, I think on a different podcast, it's like every once in a while, there's one of those professional athletes who displays some slight sense of personal charisma, and they get elevated to this, like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. In the same way that like Chrissy Teigen, because she had a tiny bit of a sense of humor, people are like, she's hilarious. Like, no, she's not. She's just a model who's not a complete dunce. And so you're elevating her to this like lofty status. Right. Kind of way with Aaron Rodgers. It's athletes because Aaron Rodgers can be in a commercial and deliver a line with a certain degree of aplomb. You think that he's the new, I don't know who's the new Truman Capote or something. He's not. He's but I really do think that dude has he had kind of a post football career set up for himself in the sense of he was hosting Jeopardy. Yeah. He guest hosted Jeopardy and stuff. And now I kind of think that's probably all out the window.
We'll see.
I mean, we'll see.
you can see why any company would not want to work with him anymore, right?
Well, I mean, it's not a good look, as they say. I mean, because he wasn't even one of those, like, I refuse to get vaccinated on principle. It's like he kind of just lied about it and sort of intimated that he'd been immunized, basically immunized, I think is what he had said. And so it's like, you're kind of a neither nor, dude. It's like, you didn't make some principled stand. You just kind of were a bit of a weasel. Then you got busted.
I just think the safest bet, if you're a well-known person, because Matthew McConaughey stepped in some shit yesterday. I played the clips because they were just so entertaining and bizarre. And I just think you should probably not say anything.
What did he do yesterday? I saw some hubbub about it. But
he's not ready to immunize his kids yet, even though they're available, even though his mom is 90 or something, lives with them. And then he said he made comments about abortion that were, kind of, there were questions, I think. Yeah. And he just, the point is, if you're an influential person with a well-known following and you're going to go and you're going to give interviews, you probably should not be spouting out like that. It's just, it's irresponsible, whether it's Nicki Minaj or Ice Cube or Aaron Rodgers and Matthew McConaughey. Like, I think it's really dumb for them, and I think it's dangerous as hell. And we hear public health experts, say these people are influencers. They're actually influencing people. That's why I think it's a big deal.
I mean, I kind of I see it both ways. These people are being asked questions, and, once there's chum in the water, once there's blood in the water, you're going to get people asking these people questions. And by and large, they're not terribly thoughtful people. Like, they're surrounded by yes men, yes people, yes persons.
Yep.
And they live in their own little bubbles and stuff, and they're not really prepared for the sort of adversarial nature of the sort of questions they're going to be firing at them once they go out on this limb. And so I don't blame them in a way, because it's like they've got questions coming at them, and and so they're responding in real time to things they really haven't thought about, more than just sort of a gut level, that Stephen Colbert old truthiness thing. It's like, It feels like the vaccine is dangerous, so I'm not going to get it. And then when they're actually put under the microscope, they start stammering and saying a bunch of crap that maybe they read in passing on Facebook, but they don't have any like actual intellectual backing for it. It's just some talking points that they heard somebody else say, and and then they get caught in this shit. I mean, all the people, I have no more anger towards Aaron Rodgers than I do your typical anti-vaxxer on the street, because he didn't promote himself as a health expert. He's a NFL quarterback, but it certainly tells me that, like, all right, you are removed from the list of people who is going to transcend sports. Do you know what I mean? Like any hope that you had to become the next Charles Barkley, or I'm trying to think of like athletes who've gone on to have like Fran Tarkington was host of That's Incredible when I was a kid. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Any sort of hope that you have to sort of, like Michael Strahan, like any sort of hope you have to be that kind of person probably went out the window. Now I just think of you as just another fucking idiot jock.
It doesn't help that the fact that some of those, or many of the guys that are in that kind of career path, like Terry Bradshaw and others, are savaging him. So it's like, just in case.
Yeah. It's actually been kind of refreshing on some level to see a lot of people like a Terry Bradshaw. Like, if you had asked me 6 months ago, like, hey, where's Terry Bradshaw going to land on vaccines?
Yeah.
I would have kind of like thought he might be in one of those dummies. And so it's been kind of nice to see certain people who you wouldn't necessarily think of as ideological bedfellows sort of just say the truth, like just make obvious observations. But our bar is so low at this point that's like, oh, Terry Bradshaw said something that is undeniably true that we all know. What a hero, Yep.
But I do think that the fact that, at least as far as I can tell, the sports community in terms of commentators have pretty much all come down on, this doesn't have to be divisive like so many other things in our life. Yeah. Vaccines were not that divisive until recently. They don't have to be. We can all agree on them for the most part still, no matter who we are.
Yeah, and it used to be to the extent that they were divisive, it was divisive from the sort of left yoga culture people.
Yep.
And so Yeah. I mean, but now everything has to be, not only does everything have to be, divisive, it has to sort of fall into a group of beliefs that really have nothing in common.
And
like being anti-vaccine and also believing you should be able to carry an AR-15 into your PTA meeting.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't think of those as being ideological bedfellows. Like what do they have to do with each other really? But now
freedom. You can't tell me what to do. You can't tell me to get a vaccine. You can't tell me to get a mask. You can't tell me I can't take my AR-15 into the PTA meeting. Don't tell me what to do, Christian. Sick of it. Especially from you.
Even though we all tell each other what to do constantly.
Nobody tells me what to do at all. I'm in charge of my in my life.
But I mean, it's the retorts to it are so obvious. Like the way you argue against these things is so straightforward, but that's pretending that these people are acting in good faith. I mean, the comparison I always make is, you don't feel personally impinged upon by red lights because you understand that more than laws, these are also agreements. These are agreements that we as a culture are all signing on for so that we don't accidentally or purposefully murder each other every day, And so the idea that like, how dare you tell me what to do? It's like, you're told what to do constantly. And I'm not just telling you what to do. You're telling me what to do. We're all agreeing that this is what it takes for us to not be crashing our cars at every intersection. We need a stoplight.
Do you sometimes treat a red light like a stop sign in kind of a desolate area? Like I always do.
I don't really. I will say I might, maybe I'm a bit of a, I remember being on a comedy tour once with, I think it was when I was in the Melbourne Festival, and I was in a group, and Tig Notaro accused me of liking rules too much. So maybe I'm not the right person to, but in my feeling, and again, and I even said that to her, it's like, they're not rules, they're agreements. They're mutually beneficial things. And it was in the context of like us meeting at a certain time to go to a show. And a couple people were like egregiously late and didn't like get in touch with people to let them know they were late.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm sorry. Yeah, maybe that makes me a rules person, or maybe it just means that I want to be treated with a certain degree of thoughtfulness, because the people that love to flout rules and all that are the people who depend on rules the most, because they depend on you and me picking up the slack and sort of being responsible on their behalf. And that enrages me.
That's interesting and well said. And I am definitely someone who follows the rules. I was you use the stoplight example, and I was thinking, I don't always obey if it's like, especially if it's a kind of dead time of day or even night. I'll just go, even though they probably have cameras now. But my family calls me a goody two shoes. My wife and daughter say I follow all the rules. I like rules for the most part. I think, if they're set to create a community of agreement.
I appreciate the red lights, because when else am I going to check my email?
Exactly. I get all excited there's so much to look forward to now.
Dude, so often, like sometimes I'd be like, God, I wish I would hit one of these red lights so I could see what that text that just came through is, or I could Google some song lyrics that I want to know. Like I'll just be driving and be like, well, when I hit that red light, that's when I can Google this completely.
Yeah. Or
random.
Or you just do it while you're driving, even though there's a woman walking her baby in a stroller, but you really have to check that phone.
Yeah, it's
super important.
The kind of thing where we're all doing it.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying.
Yeah.
But
how often do you look while you're driving and see someone just staring down at their phone going 60 miles an hour or more?
Oh, yeah, quite often. Yeah. I would if I wasn't also looking at my phone. So I don't know.
It's hard to notice anything when you're just glued to your phone while you're driving.
Oh, dude, if we ever kill somebody accidentally, like this podcast has to be deleted immediately, because this will be used against us.
I think I'm going to die. I hope, God forbid, I kill somebody else. I think I'll die, and sadly, it will be for something so unimportant. It'll just be like a joke. I'll be texting a joke. And
I thought of that. I was working, I've been working on a bit just about my surgery and stuff,
Yeah.
And one of the at the very end of it, I talk about how, like, when I woke up in the hospital room, I immediately got onto my laptop and deleted all of my From the Grave emails that I scheduled to send out. And in that you have this option now in the 21st century of like, just because you're dead doesn't mean you have to be gone. Like you could have Facebook posts, Instagram posts, like all scheduled and ready to go, like 3 years of just random posts. So I was just lying in bed last night and I was like, all right, well, I couldn't fall asleep. I was like, all right, why don't I think of some sort of funny tags, like tweets that you could send out from your coffin? Like, what's with all the worms? Stuff like that. Or, I'm not going to lie, this coffin's starting to stink. That sort of thing. But I really hope that I have the wherewithal, the foresight to know when the end is near so that I can set up a good,
that is
6 months.
I've never even thought about that. You thought about it and actually did it because of your heart surgery. But yeah, I never thought about that. That is something I'm going to give quite a bit of thought now to. Now, okay, Lau, let's move on to another controversial issue, but I am asking some people this question this week. Where are you with decorations, Christmas decorations, and when they come out? Do you have thoughts and opinions, feelings? Is it too early?
I love it when other people do it. I am not the kind of person to do it myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I like some I like decorations in the house, and I do love, I like driving by people's houses when they have all the lights strung up and stuff. I mean, it's nice, but I think maybe it's having been in the city for so long where it's not really an option unless you're just going to put like a menorah in your fire escape window or something. It's not really doable in New York to have elaborate Christmas decorations. But now that we have this house up here, I'm not really up here enough to really, it's just never even occurred to me. I hate to say it. It's never really occurred to me like we should get like a bunch of string lights and go to town.
So if a listener sent you like a little thing to put in your window, do you think you would hang it in your window?
Yeah.
Something you just put in the window.
Yeah. Something in the window. Absolutely.
Yeah. But do you think but you didn't answer the question. Is it too early right now?
Oh, is it too early?
How does it make you feel?
I think as of next week, it's okay.
So you're okay with pre-Thanksgiving Christmas decorations?
I think that as long as you're like the week before Thanksgiving, I don't think you have to wait till Thanksgiving is over, but like, I think ideally you would wait until the weekend before Thanksgiving. I think
you had a couple thoughts you shared on Twitter this week about the daylight savings and just the general getting dark earlier. And I've actually been talking about this a little bit this week. I'm more cognizant and present, I think, than I have been in past autumns, if you will. And I was kind of ready and thinking about, all right, this is when it's going to get dark, and how am I going to handle that, and what am I going to do differently? And I've spent a lot of time thinking about it, but and it helps me adapt. How much does it affect you? How much do you think about it, and are you cognizant of it? And do you hate it?
I absolutely hate it. On a personal level, sometimes from a professional level, it's better. Like there's nothing worse than trying to do 8 p.m. shows and being bright light outside. I mean, I performed at clubs where there's like light shining in, like they'll try to close their shades or blinds or whatever, but there's just light streaming in. And that's never a great vibe for like a nighttime show. To me, I think if you literally flip-flopped daylight savings and standard savings so that it basically always got dark around 7 o'clock, that to me would be the perfect trade-off. But yeah, I have it definitely affects me negatively the first couple weeks of getting dark 4:30 in the afternoon. Like it's hard. It definitely has an effect on me.
Is there anything that you do differently at all?
Probably start drinking a bit earlier, which is not ideal. Right. It starts to feel much more justifiable to sort of, crack one open at 5 o'clock when it's already dark. Then, I would never really occur to me in the middle of May to do that. Really. I mean, maybe I say that's probably not true. Who am I lying to right now? No, yeah, I just think it makes me more ruminative. And that is not always a positive thing. I think that I am happiest when I am engaged and am not quite so far in my own navel.
Right.
And I find it easier to sink into that sort of navel gazy type stuff especially when it's like 3:00 and it's kind of overcast. So it's not dark yet, but it already feels like it's dark.
Yep.
You know, it already feels like the day is over and it's 3:00 in the afternoon. Like that's not a super ideal way to live, I don't think.
I think a lot of folks can relate and are thinking about it. And I want to keep thinking about it and talking about it and hearing from how other people deal with it. So
I did buy my wife a sad light last year. One of those seasonal.
Yep, my wife has one.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. They're, kind of impressive.
They say they work.
Yeah, I think so. I do think they work. I think my wife's actually using hers right now because she's watercolor painting.
Oh, nice. Yeah, my lights for my, I grow plants and I'm often around that light and then it has the added benefit of like a little plant, like a little basil coming through. And that brings me a good sense of joy watching a plant be born.
It's very nice. So adorable.
You want to make fun of it?
No, I don't. I mean, I want to, but I don't have any good jokes loaded. So I'm going to pretend that I find it adorable.
Will you get back to me?
Yeah, I'll let you know. I'll think up some really cutting disses.
Are you paying any attention to the climate talks? Do you pay any attention to climate related? Do you read any articles? Are you too depressed over it? Like, where are you on the future of energy and climate and all that? How much time do you spend with it?
There's obviously, it's terrifying, and we're all already living with the results. I mean, the rainstorms the past couple of years have just been insane. They've been insane. Yeah. And I don't see that ending, or I don't see it diminishing. There, of course, there's going to be variation from year to year, but I think the general trend is that we're going to be seeing more and more of these, storms that did bring down 4 inches of rain are going to bring down 5.5, 6 inches of rain, like that kind of thing. But at the same time, there is occasionally a piece of good, I wouldn't call it good climate news, but good technology news that, I like solar becoming way cheaper, faster than anybody predicted, electric cars, expanding rapidly. I do think that, both the bipartisan infrastructure bill and also the Build Back Better, I think that assuming that both get passed, I think that will jumpstart a lot of innovation and technology. And so, it's not all bad news. It's just all of the news coming from Mother Earth is bad. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like all the trend lines are pointing in a certain direction. And, of course, the thing that makes you feel better, but also much worse about it is that really we're not going to be the ones bearing the brunt of it. It's going to be the global poor. It's going to be Africa and the really poor parts of the world that are going to bear the brunt of it.
Yeah, I think about that a lot. And
so I hate to say that makes me reassured, but, I'm a human and it's just like, oh, somebody got shot. Oh, it's not me or one of my family. Okay. It does feel a little better to know it's not us.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, I think that
that's the thing you have to fight the hardest to get about, I think, is to remember that it's like, these are our fellow human beings. And also the more miserable life becomes for the people in the global South. And the worse all these other problems are going to be in terms of resource scarcity and immigration and stuff like that. So you think that'd be enough? The
last thing, yeah, for sure. The last thing I did want to ask you about, because I'm going to talk about it with folks at the Hangout, is that I don't know if you've been paying any attention or heard anything about Josh Hawley and Tucker Carlson and
the masculinity.
Yeah. I mean,
we're both wearing baseball caps tonight, so that we're primed to talk.
We wear baseball caps because we're guys. Yeah, but other people maybe they have different reasons. But I know we've talked about this. We've touched on this several times. But what? It is interesting because they are touching on, there's a grain of truth. When Tucker Carlson talked about it last night, he said we have a crisis. We absolutely do have a crisis with men and men's health. It's Men's Health Month and loneliness and depression. And there's a lot of mental health issues with men. I think that part of it is true. But when they start talking about, the masculinity issues and all that, that's not diagnosing it correctly. The issue is that we don't talk about our problems, if anything, because we're so tough.
Well, yeah. I mean, that men are in crisis should be a surprise to no one. I would say most of the crisis is self-created. And most of the quote-unquote crisis is a reaction to people letting men know of the negative ramifications of the bubble they've been living in for the past however many decades. You know, it's
yeah.
It's like if I'm a serial killer and I'm killing, you know, a person a day every day, and I'm feeling really great about myself, and then all of a sudden people are like, hey, maybe it's not cool that you're murdering people every day. Well, that might cause a crisis of faith within me. All of a sudden it's like, well, then what is I'm the bad guy, apparently. Like, but so yes, I might feel very depressed about that. That might manifest itself in negative ways, but you know, tough shit, you know, it doesn't, you know, you're still responsible for your actions. And I think that one of the side effects of social media, and I'm not going to say it's a good side effect or a negative side effect, is that people have the ability to broadcast their displeasure with the things you do and the choices you make and the person you've chosen to be. And that is going to feel like persecution to someone who's never actually faced actual persecution. I mean, we see it every day, you know, all the cancel culture. Oh, the woke mob's coming after me. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, they're coming after you. Really? Are they coming after you like with fire hoses and attack dogs? You know, like the way that other people in history, like you're not, you know, the fact that someone said like, hey, that maybe that's not the right example, but you know what I'm saying? That it's like the fact that this sort of veneer of everything I do is perfect and acceptable and it is the standard by which everyone should live. The fact that the people are now poking holes in that might cause you to have a bit of a crisis of confidence.
Yeah. And how that manifests is what we're seeing at, you know, school board meetings across the country when it comes to, I mean, even taking the race part out of it, just talking about the gender part. It's you're making me feel badly and I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
I don't really think it's much more complicated than that. Stop making me feel bad.
Yeah. I'm the normal
one. Stop making me feel bad.
I didn't do any of these things. I'm not carrying out these.
Oh, but the problem is, like, those people say, I didn't do any of these things. Like, you know, a lot of the people, and I'm sort of quoting on my own stupid tweet, so I apologize, but all the people are like, I don't want to be made to feel guilty about things people did 100 years ago. The people who say that kind of thing, they tend to not really feel guilty about anything that they do.
Yeah.
They're just opposed to the concept of guilt, period.
Yes.
And so that proxy argument of like, hey man, I wasn't alive when my, you know, great ancestors had slaves. Like, don't blame me for that shit. They don't want to be blamed for anything. They don't want to be blamed for letting the door slam in your face. Like, they don't want to be blamed for anything. They just want to live their lives feeling blameless and always being the aggrieved person, not the aggriever.
No culpability at all.
Yeah, none.
That's a really, really funny observation. I want to try to see if that bears out the more you think about it. You know, connecting those dots is.
I've never met anybody who was the kind of person who was like, don't make me feel bad about my ancestors being slave owners, who then was also like, oh, I'm sorry. Did I step on your foot? Like, oh, can I get, oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot to call you back. I feel really bad about that. It's never those people.
That's really great. All right, man. Thank you very much for talking to me. As always, a great, great pleasure. I appreciate it, pal.
Thanks,
Have a
Pete.
great weekend. All right, there he goes, Christian Finnegan and Michelangelo Signorile on the Friday Stripped Down Stand-Up Light program, because we do the Hangouts on Thursday night, which is always so much fun. And I'm only one man, and it was a great week. Thank you to all of my guests. Thank you to all the new subscribers and supporters. Those of you who edited your pledge upward. I hope you have an awesome weekend. I hope you get outside. I hope you eat good things. I hope you get good rest. I hope you have some fun and get away from the worries and the concerns for a minute and get your nature and get your love on and do whatever makes you happy on the weekend if you're listening then. Thank you for your support, and John Carroll is going to take us out right now because he always does here at the end of the show. I hope you have a great weekend, everybody, and thank you so much for listening this week. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I mean, Monday. I mean, whenever. Bye-bye. Even if it ain't a very friendly audience, well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense and you stand up. Stand up. No need to point your rifle to defend your town. Just stand up. Stand up. You know they can't deny you what you're laying down. Boy, you better stand up. Stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. She's the place where every lost child will finally be found. There's only one
stand our ground, and then stand up, stand up. Well, the founding fathers saw the land for all. They had to stand up, they had to stand up. They had a keen imagination for a crystal ball, drawing all the plans of stand up. But all they had to go on was the time they were in, with other causes for laws, and since they weren't even sin, they knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go, and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Why you lying awake wondering where the money all went? It'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. Stand Alright, we got to speak up, we got to reach up, and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up, you got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it but now. No need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up, show obedience to the voice inside, and listen well and it'll tell you not to run and hide. It's